You know, you have, when you make a movie, you have a good day, you have a bad day. You think, oh, I hope.
Meryl Streep transforms into different people for a living. She becomes Margaret Thatcher. She becomes a nun wrestling with doubt. She becomes a fashion editor who terrifies and fascinates.
No.
And you have no style or sense of fashion.
Well,
But some films make even the greatest chameleon refuse to disappear. Some films make her remember exactly who she is and what she stands against. Understanding Streep's hatred means understanding her craft. She doesn't reject films casually. She doesn't dismiss work out of snobbery or competition. When Streep hates a movie, she's watching something fundamental get violated. The dignity of performance, the truth of character, the responsibility cinema owes to its audience, especially women.
I've always wanted to do a movie about a mother that was.
These 7 films represent everything she's fought against for 5 decades. They exploit where she reveals. They diminish where she expands. They treat women as objects, victims, fantasies, prizes. They use cinema's immense power to teach dangerous lessons and sell empty promises. This matters because Streep's rejections are a masterclass. Each film she despises shows us the invisible line between honest storytelling and manipulation, between complexity and stereotype, between cinema that liberates and cinema that traps. Her hatred is surgical, specific, educational. Let's explore the 7 films Meryl Streep truly hates and understand what they reveal about acting, womanhood, and cinema's soul. 7. Sucker Punch, 2011. Sucker Punch claims to be about female empowerment. It puts weapons in women's hands and calls it liberation. But Streep sees through the costume immediately. This film dresses exploitation in action sequences and slow-motion poses. It pretends to celebrate strong women while the camera lingers on their bodies like a music video. This is fake feminism at its most obvious. Here's what allegedly happened at a women's film forum in 2012. Someone asked Streep about action heroines in modern cinema. She paused before answering. Then she referenced films like Sucker Punch without naming them directly.
People who really want to act and do it, you know, can access all kinds of horrible things.
Putting a sword in a woman's hand while photographing her like she's in a magazine spread isn't strength. It's the same objectification wearing a different outfit. The problem isn't action films with women. The problem is action films that claim empowerment while serving the male gaze. Every fight scene in Sucker Punch is choreographed for spectacle, not character. The women aren't people. They're fantasies with guns. Their trauma becomes aesthetic. Their pain becomes entertainment. Their bodies remain the real focus under all that weaponry. 6. Entourage, 2015. Entourage isn't just a bad film.
How much time? 3 seconds!
It's Hollywood's worst instincts to celebrate themselves on screen. It's every toxic behavior the industry pretends doesn't exist anymore, packaged as comedy and sold as aspiration. Streep watched this film and saw the system that makes her work twice as hard for half the recognition.
But by what he didn't do. He made no unnecessary gesture. He never raised his voice.
Except here, that system is the hero. The story matters because of timing. Entourage released just as conversations about representation were gaining momentum. Just as women were demanding better roles and equal pay. And this film responded by showing women as decorations, obstacles, or rewards. Every female character exists only in relation to the male leads. They have no inner lives, no ambitions beyond pleasing men, no purpose except to populate the boys' fantasy. Streep allegedly told colleagues that Entourage represents everything wrong with how Hollywood sees itself. The film treats misogyny as a charm, sexism as humor, exclusion as brotherhood. It's 8 seasons of toxic workplace culture condensed into 2 hours and served as entertainment. The men succeed not despite their behavior, but because of it. That's the message. That's what makes Streep furious. Her entire career fights against this worldview. She's advocated for female directors, producers, writers. She's spoken publicly about pay inequality and representation. She's used her platform to demand change. Then Entourage arrives and celebrates exactly what she's fighting. It makes the problem look fun. 5. Pretty Woman, 1990. Pretty Woman is beloved by millions. It made Julia Roberts a star. It's considered a romantic classic, and Meryl Streep sees it as one of the most damaging films ever made for women.
And you don't make anything,
No.
and you don't build anything.
No,
So what do you do with the companies once you buy them?
I sell them.
Not because it's badly acted or poorly made, because it sells a fantasy that keeps women waiting for salvation instead of building their own lives. The story goes that Streep turned down multiple similar roles throughout the 80s. Scripts where wealthy men rescue struggling women and give their lives meaning.
In American horror, whatever.
Would this suggest nudity?
No, it's cruelty.
She allegedly called them rescue fantasies dressed as romance. She understood what these stories really teach, that women's value comes from being chosen, that poverty or struggle ends when the right man arrives, that transformation means becoming what he wants. Here's the deeper problem with Pretty Woman. Vivian doesn't save herself. She doesn't build a career or find her own path. Edward gives her everything: money, clothes, confidence, worth. The message is clear. Women need men to complete them, to lift them up, to make them acceptable to the world. It's Cinderella without even the small rebellion of losing a shoe on her own terms. Streep chose the opposite path deliberately. She played Karen Silkwood, a whistleblower who fights power alone. Sophie, a woman making impossible choices without rescue. Miranda Priestley, powerful and complicated and needing no man to define her. These women have agency. They struggle and suffer through their own decisions. They exist fully whether men appear or not. 4. Blonde, 2022. Blonde arrived decades after Marilyn Monroe's death. Another film about her trauma. Another director used her pain as art. Another movie that turns a complex woman into a beautiful victim. Andrew Dominic claimed he was showing the real Marilyn.
I couldn't imagine what to wear.
You look fine.
Are you sure?
What he actually showed was his fantasy of her suffering, and Streep recognized this immediately as exploitation, wearing the mask of tribute. The film doesn't try to understand Marilyn Monroe. It dissects her. Every scene focuses on her abuse, her exploitation, her victimhood. The camera watches her suffer in ways that feel less like empathy and more like voyeurism. Dominic takes a woman who fought for control over her career and reduces her back to helplessness. He claims he's honoring her. He's actually doing what Hollywood always did to her, using her body and pain for someone else's artistic vision. Streep's private dismay about Blonde connects to something larger. How many times will the cinema resurrect Marilyn Monroe just to victimize her again? How many directors will claim they're revealing the truth while really just manufacturing trauma? Monroe was a producer, a businesswoman, a person who read books and fought studios and wanted respect. Blonde erases all of that for close-ups of her crying. This matters because Streep fought the same battles Monroe did, fighting for complex roles, demanding respect as more than a pretty face, refusing to be reduced to one dimension. The difference is Streep won those battles. She got to age on screen. She got to play power and weakness and everything between. Monroe died before she could. 3. The Human Centipede, 2009. The Human Centipede isn't horror. It's cruel with a camera.
No more prison fights. No more assaults on guards.
It's what happens when filmmakers forget that darkness should reveal something about humanity, not erase it completely. Tom Six didn't make this film to explore fear or examine evil. He was disgusted, to shock, to see how far he could push the audience before they walked out.
Embody these unspeakables and unimaginables, and so that's the actor's job.
And Streep sees this as cinema's complete abandonment of purpose. Someone once asked Streep about the rise of torture porn in modern horror. Her response was quiet but devastating. What are we feeding ourselves? What happens to us when we consume cruelty as entertainment? She wasn't being preachy or superior. She was genuinely concerned. concerned about what it means when audiences pay to watch prolonged human degradation without meaning, without context, without redemption. Here's the distinction Streep understands. Horror can be profound. It can explore our deepest fears and force us to confront darkness. Films like The Silence of the Lambs or Rosemary's Baby use terror to examine psychology, power, vulnerability. They disturb you, but they also illuminate something true. The human centipede just dehumanizes. It reduces people to grotesque experiments. It offers nothing except the spectacle of suffering. Streep has played difficult roles, characters who endure terrible things. Sophie's Choice forces you to witness an impossible decision. But that pain serves the story. It reveals something about survival, guilt, memory, and love. The suffering has meaning. The human centipede strips away meaning entirely. It's nihilism pretending to be transgressive art. 2. 50 Shades of Grey, 2015. The romanticized toxicity. 50 Shades of Grey made billions worldwide. It was marketed as a female fantasy.
I've always found that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. The key to my success has been
as liberation, as women claiming their sexuality on their own terms. Meryl Streep watched it become a cultural phenomenon and saw something completely different. She saw abuse repackaged as romance, control disguised as caring, manipulation sold to women as love worth wanting. Streep never commented publicly about the film. She's too smart for that kind of controversy. But people close to her say she expressed deep concern privately. Not about sexuality or the explicit content, about what it teaches young women about relationships. That stalking is romantic, that controlling behavior means he cares, that a woman's job is to fix a broken man through patience and submission. Here's what makes this different from legitimate explorations of complex relationships. Films like Streep's own work in Doubt or The Devil Wears Prada show power dynamics with nuance. They don't romanticize toxicity, they examine it. 50 Shades does the opposite. Christian Grey exhibits every warning sign of an abusive partner. The film frames these red flags as intensity, passion, devotion. It teaches millions of viewers that this is what love looks like. Streep built a career on complicated female characters who maintain their agency. Miranda Priestley wields power without apologizing. Margaret Thatcher commands rooms. Even in romantic roles, her characters remain themselves. They negotiate, they choose, they maintain boundaries. Anastasia Steele surrenders everything, and the film calls this empowerment. That distinction matters desperately. 1. Showgirls, 1995. This is the film Meryl Streep hates most. Not because it's badly made, though it is. Not because the acting is terrible, though it often is.
She looks like, I don't know, Lolita maybe. Nice dress.
Because Showgirls represents the ultimate betrayal of an actress by cinema. It takes a performer and destroys her on camera while pretending to celebrate female ambition. It's exploitation disguised as a story about empowerment. And Streep recognizes this as the worst thing cinema can do. The story that matters happened at a dinner party in the late 90s. Someone mentioned Elizabeth Berkley and what happened to her career after Showgirls. Streep allegedly went quiet before saying something people at that table never forgot. I watched an actress get destroyed on camera, and they called it art. Paul Verhoeven claimed he was making a satire. What he actually made was pornography that ended someone's career. Here's what Showgirls pretends to be. A story about a woman fighting to succeed in a brutal industry, a tale of ambition and survival. What it actually is, a film that exploits its lead actress in every frame while claiming its commentary. The camera doesn't observe Nomi's journey. It leers at her body. Every scene is designed for maximum exposure. Every moment prioritizing titillation over character. Verhoeven said he was critiquing Las Vegas culture. He was participating in exactly what he claimed to critique. These 7 films share one truth. They betray women through exploitation, diminishment, and dangerous fantasies. Streep's hatred protects dignity in storytelling. Which film would you add? Comment below and subscribe.